lasting joy, while Buddhism teaches that these things provide only temporary, fragile happiness. In this section, we will explore common misconceptions about happiness, analyze them deeply through Buddhist teachings, and discover how to cultivate a correct understanding to attain true, lasting inner peace. 6.1. Happiness is not instant gratification. In modern life, people are often swept up by fleeting desires and immediate needs. When hunger, thirst, or fatigue arises, we seek instant satisfaction. When we crave joy or excitement, we turn to shopping, entertainment, or short-term thrills. This creates a never-ending cycle. Humans always feel incomplete, and happiness seems to slip away. Buddhism points out that this is one of the most common misconceptions about happiness. When people chase after immediate gratification, they quickly feel emptiness even after obtaining what they desire. This short-lived pleasure is like drinking salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. Many wealthy, powerful, or famous people still feel anxious, lonely, and hollow because they base their happiness on external factors rather than seeking inner peace. A typical example can be seen in young people living in large cities, where life moves fast and work pressure is high. They work tirelessly to earn high incomes, own cars and houses. Buddhism calls this phenomenon tanha, endless craving, never satisfied. When the mind is dominated by craving, happiness always slips away, and people continuously look outside themselves. Joy emerges from freedom, stillness, and inner tranquility. This happiness does not depend on material possessions, wealth, or external success, but comes from harmony with oneself and the world around. Buddhism emphasizes that only when the mind is free from desire, anger, and ignorance can one truly attain enduring happiness. Another example is people addicted to social media or video games. Initially, scrolling through feeds, playing games, or receiving likes brings immediate satisfaction. But that pleasure quickly vanishes, driving them to seek new thrills, trapped in an endless loop of instant gratification. Buddhism teaches that reliance on these short-term pleasures only deepens mental agitation and unease. Buddhist practice guides people to find inner joy through meditation, mindfulness, self-reflection, and the cultivation of compassion and wisdom. By focusing on the breath, observing passing emotions without attachment, or simply experiencing each moment. Another illustration is wealthy individuals who own vast possessions yet remain uneasy. They continually seek new luxuries or more intense experiences, but satisfaction lasts only briefly. When Buddhism points out that happiness does not lie externally, they begin to understand that true peace and joy come from inner awareness and stillness. Recognizing and practicing this reduces endless craving, allowing for deep, lasting, and genuine happiness. Thus, the message from Buddhism is clear. Happiness is not instant gratification, but the cultivation of the mind. Understanding the nature of suffering and desire, letting go of attachments, and living fully in each moment. When one learns not to be controlled by short-term pleasures, true inner peace and enduring happiness naturally arise, something no external pleasure, however tempting, can provide. Instant happiness is an illusion, a brief moment that can disrupt the mind if one believes it to be pleasurable experiences, or by distancing themselves from complicated relationships. However, Buddhism teaches that suffering is an inevitable part of life, a reality that cannot be denied. Happiness does not come from avoiding suffering, but from understanding, recognizing, and accepting its nature. Suffering appears in many forms, physical or mental, short-term or prolonged. Observation and recognition of pain. When facing failure, loss, or emotional hurt, instead of reacting instinctively or avoiding it, one learns to pause, look directly at the pain, and comprehend it. Transform it into an opportunity for developing wisdom and compassion. Happiness arises not when suffering disappears, but when the mind recognizes it, does not cling, and rises above inner conflicts. Scriptural stories abound of monks and practitioners who experienced pain, illness, and loss, yet through mindfulness and practice, recognized suffering as a teacher and found lasting peace. They did not escape the world or their painful experiences, Instead, they faced, understood, and let go of attachment to the pain. This understanding is what leads to true happiness. Pleasures. Buddhism teaches that the proper approach is to observe, accept, and understand the pain. In doing so, suffering no longer acts as an obstacle, but becomes an opportunity to learn, develop wisdom, and cultivate compassion for oneself and others. Inner happiness arises when one faces suffering directly, recognizes impermanence and causality, and releases attachment to impermanent things. When the mind is no longer driven by fear or craving, one finds tranquility, serenity, and deep joy in every moment. This is a core message of Buddhism. Happiness is not about judgment, and understand that suffering is not an enemy but a path to wisdom, compassion, and inner freedom. True happiness arises from understanding and awareness, not from avoiding all the difficulties life presents. 6.3. Happiness is not something to be achieved, but to be recognized. Throughout life, people often spend most of their time seeking happiness as if it were an external consciousness, always present, yet often obscured by desires, attachments, anger, and ignorance. Many people, upon reaching great achievements, realize that the happiness they expected does not appear as anticipated. Successful entrepreneurs, accomplished scholars, or famous personalities can still feel emptiness, loneliness, and unease. They seek happiness externally, but attachment to these achievements prevents them from noticing the joy that already exists. Buddhism emphasizes that happiness is a matter of awareness, of seeing the true nature of the mind and life, rather than present moment. When the mind is trained, every moment becomes a source of peace, without needing to search for or achieve anything externally. In modern life, this lesson applies equally. People often pour energy into earning money, building careers, shopping, or seeking intense experiences, believing that happiness will come one day. In reality, if one does not recognize the joy in each moment, a sense of lack persists. Happiness is not a destination. It is the awareness of the present moment, the ability to see the simple joys around us. A smile, a quiet afternoon. We observe sensations, thoughts, and emotions without clinging or overreacting. In doing so, we realize that happiness does not need to be sought. It is always present when the mind is focused and free from desire. Every breath, every present moment carries the potential for peace and joy. Another example is those who face major life challenges, such as loss, failure, or suffering. If they believe they must achieve happiness to feel secure, despair and a sense of deficiency arise. Conversely, when they recognize that happiness is the ability to perceive and experience, they can find peace even amidst suffering, through acceptance, calm, and understanding the nature of life. Happiness in this case is no longer something to pursue. It is a natural state of the mind, when freed from attachment and affliction. Recognizing happiness also means valuing simple things, joy from family, meaningful work, kindness to others, or simply harmony with oneself. When people understand that happiness is not something to achieve but is always present, they experience less worry, tension, and a sense of lacking. Buddhism calls this inner happiness, contentment, arising from the mind, independent of external circumstances. Thus, the essential message of Buddhism is clear. Happiness is not an external goal, nor something to achieve through effort or stepping into inner happiness. In this section, we will explore stories of individuals who have walked the path of spiritual practice to discover inner happiness. Each story reflects real life experiences, from challenges and losses to awakening, letting go, and profound peace. These journeys demonstrate that true happiness is not found outside, but is nurtured from within the depths of one's own mind. 7.1. Amid the rush of life, finding peace through every mindful step. Clara is a woman living in New York, a city that never sleeps, where everyone races against time, fame, and office. Clara realizes she hardly notices her surroundings. She looks out the window, sees other people, buildings, streets, but feels nothing. Everything passes by like a blurry film. She begins to wonder, is this happiness? Am I missing something important? One hurried afternoon, Clara meets Sophie, a colleague newly arrived from Paris. Sophie is different. She walks slowly, sips her coffee, and observes her surroundings attentively. Curious, Clara asks, "How can you stay so calm amid such a stressful job?" Sophie smiles and talks about practicing mindfulness, mindful walking, paying attention to each step and each breath. She says, "You don't need to look far for happiness. It's in every step you take, in every breath you breathe." Those words resonate deeply, surrounding sounds, and the rhythm of her heartbeat. Day by day, Clara notices a remarkable change. Stress doesn't disappear completely, but she feels more at peace. Intense meetings no longer. Calm. One Saturday morning, Clara decides to take a long walk in Central Park. No work, no phone, just steps and breath. She notices sunlight filtering through the leaves, the cool breeze on her skin, and live fully in each present moment. Clara also shares her experience with colleagues. At first, they laugh, thinking she is being dreamy. But witnessing the changes in her, calmness, gentle joy, instead of chasing metrics, deadlines, or recognition. One autumn evening, Clara sits by the window with a cup of tea, watching the city lights twinkle. She smiles, not because of some grand, not depend on material wealth or circumstances. Clara's experience shows that inner happiness is neither distant nor elusive. It can be nurtured even amid a hectic life, as long as one pays. Unlocking inner happiness, even in the busiest, most chaotic life. Her story reminds viewers that no matter how hectic life may be, they too can find peace if they slow down, observe closely. A luxurious apartment in the city center and extravagant vacations. On paper, his life seemed perfect, yet inside, he constantly felt stressed, pressured, and quietly anxious about the future. Depression, lost direction, and questioned whether life still held meaning. Financial worries, concerns about the future, and personal failure overwhelmed him, leaving his mind in turmoil with no focusing on each breath, observing thoughts and emotions without being carried away by them. In his state of despair, Michael decided to try. He signed up for a meditation course at a small center on the outskirts of London, where people from all walks of life came to learn how to find stillness amid chaos. At first, Michael struggled. Sitting quietly for a few minutes, he found he could not stop thinking about his failures, bills, and social pressures. But the instructor gently advised him to simply observe these thoughts without judgment, return to his breath, and realize that negative emotions do not define him. Gradually, Michael began to notice brief moments of calm, moments when he focused on the present rather than fleeing from the past or worrying about the future. One weekend, Michael took a long walk in Hyde Park with no phone, no music, just slow steps and mindful breathing. He noticed sunlight filtering through the trees, the rustle of leaves, birds singing, and the gentle pace of people around him. For the first time in months, he felt his mind light, still, and serene, no longer swept away by worry and fear. Michael also began practicing mindfulness in daily activities, washing dishes, cooking, walking to the market, even sipping coffee. Every action, no matter how small, became an opportunity to be aware, observe, and fully live the moment. Gradually, he realized that happiness did not depend on career or money, but on mindfulness and harmony with oneself. His experience also inspired those around him. Friends and family noticed the change, less anxiety, more calm, and greater optimism in his new life. Some began meditating with him and discovered that even amid difficult circumstances, inner peace can be nurtured through and let go of attachments. He discovered a deep sense of peace far greater than any achievement or possession could provide. Inner happiness, as Michael experienced, is a personal journey that begins with awakening, awareness, and practice, even in the most challenging moments of life. Michael's story illustrates a simple yet profound Buddhist teaching. Happiness does not come from achievements or survive in this world. Growing up in a bustling, competitive city where weakness and kindness were often overlooked, she learned to distance herself from emotions, especially vulnerable ones like. She had experienced childhood wounds from those she trusted most, which made her defensive and constantly on guard. Every betrayal, every unfair word shook her deeply and silently. Resentment and anger began to grow. Even minor incidents could ignite her frustration, leaving her exhausted, tense, and often feeling isolated among the crowd. One spring morning, while walking through a small park in Berlin, Elena noticed a group practicing meditation outdoors. Among them was a nun from India, guiding participants in compassion and letting go. The way they sat calmly. Session. At first, she felt discomfort. Her mind swirled with images of people who had hurt her and injustices yet unresolved. But the nun gently guided her. Do not run from these emotions. Observe them, recognize them, and let them pass like clouds across the sky. Instead of clinging, practice letting go. Week by week, Elena learned to observe negative emotions without reacting. Impulsively, asking herself, where does this anger come from? Does it bring me happiness? Gradually, she realized that resentment and hatred only weighed her down, exhausting her and blocking her inner happiness. Learning to let go did not mean ignoring her wounds, but acknowledging them, accepting them, and refusing to let them define her life. One evening, as the sunset bathed the sky in, controlled her, compassion began to arise, not only for others, but also for herself. She understood that forgiveness is not weakness, and letting go is the path to true peace. From that moment, Elena practiced compassion in small daily acts, a greeting, a smile, patience toward those who frustrated her, and most importantly, caring for herself without self-blame. She discovered that when her heart was open and gentle, the world around her felt warmer and more welcoming. Inner happiness was no longer distant. It became the sense of peace found in each moment, each breath, and each thought. Elena's journey demonstrates that there is no greater power than the power of compassion and the ability to let go. When hatred dissolves, one can truly see the world with a serene happiness, while selfish or greedy actions lead to challenges and loss. Each story serves as a living testament to the truth that inner happiness is always connected to what we cultivate in our London, always yearning to explore the world. With a backpack on his shoulders and maps spread before him, he traveled through bustling cities, peaceful villages, and distant lands that existed only in travel books. But Liam's journey was not just about sightseeing. He carried a deep belief that every small act of kindness could make a difference, that even the tiniest gesture could plant seeds of unexpected happiness. During a trip to a small mountain village in Peru, Liam happened upon a boy named Mateo, crying by the roadside because his bicycle was broken. Without hesitation, Liam stopped, asked about the problem, and helped fix the bike. Mateo's joy, the bright look in his eyes as he rode around the village again, filled Liam with a simple yet profound happiness. Liam visited a nearby town and learned that a family had lost their home in a flood. He decided to help them clean up and brought along some essentials from his own supplies. The villagers looked at Liam, continued his journey, and word of his kindness seemed to spread from village to village. One afternoon in Nepal, while hiking winding mountain trails, he helped a group of women carry heavy goods down the slope. They could not pay him, only offering smiles and heartfelt thanks. Yet it was these smiles, this sincere gratitude, that gave Liam a profound joy he had never experienced before. On a trip to Africa, Liam met an elderly farmer struggling with drought. He shared some of his food supplies and helped the farmer find ways to conserve water for the crops. Seeing the green shoots gradually return to the fields, Liam understood that acts of kindness, even from a stranger, have the power to transform lives, and in doing so, transform the heart of the. Every smile, every grateful glance, every word of thanks not only brought joy to the receiver, but also illuminated the giver's heart. He understood that karma is not just an abstract theory, it exists in every moment, in every relationship, and in every action. Liam's journey is living proof of a simple yet profound truth. Happiness is not something found externally, but is the result of what we sow in our own hearts and in the hearts of others. When we plant seeds of goodness, we cannot predict exactly how they will bear fruit, but joy and happiness will arrive in unexpected and miraculous. Another important message: when we give, when we sow acts of kindness without expectation, our own soul is nourished. Inner happiness is not merely a reward for good deeds. It is the awakening to the around us. 8.2. The elderly flower seller, lasting joy from a kind heart. On a quiet, tree-lined street in Florence, Italy, there was a small flower stall run by Mrs. Margherita, an elderly woman with silvery hair. Her life was simple, far from wealthy, yet she always greeted everyone passing by with a warm smile. The way she wrapped each bouquet, handing them to customers with genuine care, and she would give them freely to young children, the elderly, or anyone who seemed downhearted. One day, she noticed a young girl named Lucia, a high school student upset over a disappointing exam result, standing by her stall. Seeing the sadness in the girl's eyes, Margarita smiled kindly and handed her a small bouquet of red roses, saying, "Remember, a beautiful day always begins with a heart full of hope." Lucia received the flowers, speechless, yet the sorrow she had carried seemed to dissolve, replaced by a warm sense of comfort in her heart. Stories of Margarita's kindness spread from customer to customer. A teacher buying flowers remarked that each bouquet brought not only visual beauty, but also a deep inner peace. A foreign businessman visiting Florence witnessed. Her small gestures could ripple out so widely and touch so many lives. Yet, her sincere kindness in every smile, glance, and word created an invisible network of joy and happiness. Passers-by, not from luxury. The couple accepted the flowers, and later shared that this simple gift taught them to cherish life's small moments and nurture joy through gratitude and care for one another. Margarita's story is living proof of a profound truth. Lasting happiness does not come from what we possess, but from what we sow with our hearts. Small, sincere acts of kindness bring joy not only to the recipient, but also nurture the giver's inner happiness. She showed that, even amidst the rush of modern life, one can cultivate a garden of the heart, where each act of goodness blossoms, spreading warmth and positive energy to everyone around. Throughout her remaining years, Margarita continued planting seeds of kindness. Every bouquet, every smile, every warm gaze became a seed for sincere intentions and selfless generosity. Mrs. Margarita's story reminds us that even small, simple actions from the heart can lead to inner happiness. One does not need grand gestures, just sowing. Kindness, caring, and love can bring joy that spreads and becomes the deepest, most lasting part of one's spiritual life. True, enduring happiness does not come from material wealth, but from acts of goodness and a heart that gives without expecting anything in return. 8.3. Sowing bad seeds, reaping lessons. True happiness comes from awareness and transformation. On a bustling street in New York, David, a young and ambitious entrepreneur, was constantly chasing profit and rapid success. He did not hesitate to use underhanded tactics, engage in unhealthy competition, and sometimes hurt those. Satisfaction. Yet that happiness was fleeting. Relationships around him grew cold, friends gradually distanced themselves, and tension weighed heavily on David's mind every day. He began to feel. Japan, David unexpectedly met a Zen master at a small temple in Kyoto. Initially, he approached out of curiosity, but through conversations and meditation sessions, he began to recognize that the selfish acts, scheming, and unfair competition he had sown were the bad seeds whose consequences he was now reaping. The stress, losses, and loneliness he experienced were the fruits of his past. And sow good seeds, your heart will find true peace. These words awakened something deep within David. He began practicing meditation, mindfulness, and learned to identify and transform negative emotions, most importantly cultivating compassion for himself and others. Gradually, David realized that small acts of kindness, helping a struggling colleague, listening sincerely to family members, or simply offering a smile in difficult moments, brought a profound sense of peace he had never experienced. He learned that true happiness is not the result of success or controlling everything but arises from awareness, letting go, and planting good seeds in everyday life. A year later, David had completely transformed his lifestyle. His company was no longer a place where he manipulated others for maximum profit. It became an environment of collaboration, support, and sustainable growth. Personal relationships also warmed again. He understood that happiness does not stem from wealth or fame, but from inner transformation. Every thought, action, and choice plants seeds, and the good seeds yield the fruits of joy and inner peace. David's story is a living testament to the principle of karma. What we sow, we reap. But instead of fearing or regretting, true happiness comes from awareness and the capacity to change. Recognizing past mistakes, letting go, practicing goodness, peace in the soul. This story reminds us that happiness is not merely enjoying pleasant moments. It is a journey of awareness, transformation, and cultivating goodness. Each day becomes a chance to. Peace does not depend on material wealth or status, but on how each person cultivates their own heart and mind. 9.1. The Journey from Anxiety to Inner Peace of a Western Meditation Teacher. Michael, stand out, and from an early age, he learned to control everything according to his own will. By day, Michael worked as an ambitious financial analyst. The numbers on his reports, the rising profits, and the admiration from colleagues made him feel he was on the right path. Yet, when night fell, and his minimal yet fully equipped apartment grew quiet, Michael sensed a deep emptiness within. Anxiety, stress, and an ever-present feeling of loneliness. He often stayed up late checking emails, thinking about strategies, predicting market fluctuations, or replaying minor mistakes in his mind. Every decision at work felt like a spiral, pushing his mind into constant tension. Material achievements, important meetings, or praise from superiors only brought fleeting satisfaction. Quickly fading away, Michael began to wonder, are all these efforts truly bringing happiness? One drizzly afternoon, after a long and stressful day, Michael happened upon a small meditation center, tucked away in a narrow street. Drawn by its soft light and serene atmosphere, he stepped inside, initially out of curiosity. From the first moment, the space felt different. No noise, no competition, only a spreading calm. The meditation teacher guided Michael to focus on his breath, observe his emotions without judgment, and recognize passing thoughts like clouds drifting across the sky. At first, meditation was a severe challenge for Michael. His mind refused to settle, constantly returning to worries about work, money, or disagreements with colleagues. He felt frustrated and sometimes wanted to give up, thinking he was not suited for this tranquility. But the teacher encouraged patience, reminding him that each small step, even a few seconds of mindful breathing, was progress on the path to cultivating inner peace. Over weeks, Michael began to notice subtle changes. His mind wavered less. Anxieties no longer dominated his thoughts. At work, he learned to observe situations rather than react impulsively. In relationships, he listened more deeply and judged less. Simple moments, walking in the London rain, savoring a morning coffee, or having a sincere conversation with a colleague, began to bring gentle yet enduring joy. One evening, while meditating in his apartment, Michael realized that the fears and pressures he had once thought natural were, in fact, seeds of desire, aversion, and ignorance he had sown in his mind. Years of chasing success and recognition had produced the fruits of anxiety, stress, and loneliness. But now, meditation practice, attended weekend retreats, and volunteered in community activities. He realized that happiness was not about controlling the external world or achieving all ambitions. Breath, each minute of practice, Michael felt a profound calm spreading through his soul. Ultimately, Michael's story serves as living proof that happiness is not confined by nationality, culture, or material circumstances. Even in a modern Western city, amidst work pressures and a hectic lifestyle, one can discover inner peace through patience, mindfulness, and spiritual practice. Happiness does not lie in achievements, fame, or possessions, but in understanding oneself, planting seeds of goodness, and nurturing the mind through experiences, mindful breathing. An Asian businessman's journey to happiness. In the heart of Singapore's bustling financial district, Alexander, a young entrepreneur of East Asian heritage, navigated the towering glass buildings and crowded streets with the precision of a man chasing success. From the outside, his life appeared perfect. Luxury cars, a high-rise apartment with panoramic city views, invitations to exclusive. The air felt different. calm, and almost tangible, a stark contrast to the chaotic world outside. A gentle voice guided him to focus on his breath, observe his thoughts without judgment. More. But with patient guidance, he began to experience moments of clarity, brief yet profound glimpses of a peaceful mind. He realized that years of chasing profit and recognition had only deepened. Walking through busy streets or having heartfelt conversations with colleagues now brought him lasting joy he had never experienced before. His journey taught him that happiness is a continuous process of self-awareness and transformation. Letting go of some material gains, reducing ambition, and releasing excessive expectations were not failures, but crucial steps toward true inner peace. Mind, and prioritizing spiritual values over profit or prestige. His journey emphasized that true joy is measured not by accomplishments or money, but by awakening, letting go, and cultivating a wholesome mind from within. 9.3. A universal path beyond cultural boundaries, when inner happiness knows no borders. In the diverse tapestry of the modern world, the perception of happiness varies. The experiences of Western monks or European and American entrepreneurs reveal the same pattern. They confronted societal habits, work pressures, and cultural standards of success. When shifting focus from external values to nurturing the inner mind, they discovered the same principle. True happiness comes from awareness, living in the present, and letting go of endless desires. The only difference across cultures is the approach and pace at which each person realizes this truth, but the essence of the experience remains identical. These stories also highlight that inner competitive environment discovers tranquility through principles that Buddhism has taught for thousands of years. This demonstrates that inner happiness is not limited by culture, race, or circumstances, but is the result of inner transformation accessible to everyone. Another key point is adaptability. Although methods differ, meditation, mindfulness, walking meditation, or simply self-observation and letting go, all experiences lead to the same truth. Peace of mind is cultivated through awareness and wholesome actions, independent of external factors. Happiness. While life contexts, lifestyles, and perceptions of happiness may differ, the essence of inner happiness remains consistent. Happiness does not depend on place or origin, but on the ability to cultivate awareness, let go, and nurture the inner mind. By applying these principles, people from any culture can transcend material and social boundaries and enter a state of. Part 10. Happiness as a state of mind. Before we enter the final stories, let us pause to reflect. Happiness is not something external or tangible, not an achievement or possession that can be accumulated. It is an inner state, a quality of the mind nurtured through awareness, letting go, and mindfulness. The upcoming stories will demonstrate that regardless of one's background or power and social recognition, we shop, build careers, seek approval, and engage in endless races, hoping that these things will bring lasting joy and peace. However, through the stories recounted, temporary satisfaction does not bring lasting peace. The farmer consumed by harvests learned that happiness is not in yield or results. The merchant who lost everything discovered that inner serenity arises when one lets go and looks within. Buddhism emphasizes that the root of suffering lies in greed, hatred, and delusion, and that inner happiness arises from freeing oneself from these attachments. When people recognize the impermanence of all things, achievements, and comparisons, the mind begins to release fear, clinging, and the constant need to control the external world. In busy lives, all found happiness by transforming their inner world, letting go of desires, and cultivating spiritual values. Happiness is not an ultimate goal or reward from the outside. It is a state of mind, always accessible when one turns inward and nurtures it. Importantly, happiness is not something achieved once and held forever. It is a continuous process of cultivation and maintenance. Every experience, challenge, failure, or success becomes an opportunity to train the mind, practice letting go, cultivate gratitude, and cherish the present moment. In this way, all outward efforts to seek happiness are detours, and the most enduring values always reside within each person's mind. When we understand and practice this, every moment of life can become a source of happiness, and peace is no longer a luxury or an illusion but a tangible, present state. Inner happiness is not just a reward for those who seek the truth, it is an opportunity for everyone. It is not bound by geography, culture, age, or social circumstances. No matter who you are, where you live, or what challenges you face, the state of inner peace is always available if you. This section shows that the journey to happiness is not a race with the outside world but about listening, observing, and caring for the inner mind. When the mind is calm, when we learn to let go of greed, hatred, and delusion, and when we cherish each present moment, happiness naturally arises, becoming a stable and profound state beyond any circumstances. In conclusion, true happiness is not found outside, not in achievements or material possessions, but is a state of mind, an inner quality nurtured through awareness, practice, and compassion. This is the central message that the entire journey of stories, experiences, and reflections has conveyed. Happiness is within, and it can always be found if we turn inward and care for our own mind. 10.2. The peaceful are truly happy. The long journey of exploring happiness through stories, experiences, and international perspectives has led us to an essential truth. Happiness is not an external destination, but a state of inner being. Each moment becomes a building block for inner happiness. Compassion is the ability to open the heart, understand, and accept the imperfections and sufferings of oneself and others. Those who live with compassion are not burdened by anger or jealousy, but cherish and empathize with all beings. From compassion arises deep connection with others and the world, creating lasting joy that does not depend on material wealth or achievements. Letting go is the art of freeing the mind from invisible bonds, greed, fear, regret, or hatred. Letting go does not mean indifference, but accepting the impermanence of life, viewing everything with serenity, and realizing that nothing truly belongs to us forever. When one learns to let go, the mind finds genuine peace because it knows. Feel the sunlight on your skin and notice your breathing, and in that moment, the mind becomes calm and serene. This very stillness is the source of inner happiness, something money cannot buy or power cannot command, yet can be nurtured and maintained through daily awareness and practice. We invite you, through each moment and every story shared in this script, to begin your own journey. Practiced, nurtured, and experienced in everyday life. Each step, each breath, each mindful moment is an opportunity to discover profound inner peace. When you live with serenity, harmony, and in that peace, inner happiness will bloom, lasting and eternal. Lasting joy. While Buddhism teaches that these things provide only temporary, fragile happiness. In this section, we will explore common misconceptions about happiness, analyze them deeply through Buddhist teachings, and discover how to cultivate a correct understanding to attain true, lasting inner peace. 6.1. Happiness is not instant gratification. In modern life, people are often swept up by fleeting desires and immediate needs. When hunger, thirst, or fatigue arises, we seek instant satisfaction. When we crave joy or excitement, we turn to shopping, entertainment, or short-term thrills. This creates a never-ending cycle. Humans always feel incomplete, and happiness seems to slip away. Buddhism points out that this is one of the most common misconceptions about happiness. When people chase after immediate gratification, they quickly feel emptiness even after obtaining what they desire. This short-lived pleasure is like drinking salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. Many wealthy, powerful, or famous people still feel anxious, lonely, and hollow because they base their happiness on external factors rather than